Hello and welcome, Red Devils United. Well, it's time for the biggest game in English football, Manchester United versus Liverpool. It's one of the most awaited games of the Premier League season. And before we move into our discussion, our preview show for the game, we are here with a guest from the Merseyside, Varun.
Hello everyone.
We call him Varun, people call him Al, and he's one of the Merseyside detractors. But let's get his opinion about how Manchester United will do against a high-flying Liverpool side. Before we move ahead, please subscribe to our channel, spread the word with every other United fan that you know. Give us your likes, your love, your comments to help us improve. And now, let's get into our show. So, Sagar, the Liverpool CEO made some comments saying that they're back on their perch. Is that true? Is Liverpool really back on its perch? Or is it just a spur of the moment comment?
I think it's just a spur of the moment comment. But looking at Liverpool's gameplay and what they have achieved over the years with Jurgen Klopp, I think it's fair to say that they are a much better team than what United are at this moment. But I would definitely not say they are back on the perch in any way possible. It's not possible.
Yeah, because Liverpool's still I think the two Premier League trophies behind us. They haven't won a trophy in 30 years. What do you say about it? I mean, you haven't seen Liverpool win a Premier League in your entire lifetime. Like, is it a good moment for you, feeling excited about this game?
I definitely don't think Liverpool is back on its perch. I still feel Manchester City is the dominant side in the league, but we are on a good run, and I think the comment was made more into oversight in terms of how Liverpool's moved ahead of United and not exactly in terms of the whole Premier League.
I think it's just to create an atmosphere of getting a result at Old Trafford and.
But the CEO should know our team. We never react, to any of these comments against us. We've been coming out with drab performances of late. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been maligned for the way he's setting up his United side and the players that he's putting up in those positions. Do you think that comment will make us want to beat Liverpool more, especially now that they're so far ahead of us in terms of the way they play, the goals they score, and just pure quality in the starting 11?
You know what? One of the most significant features of this game is that every player wants to do well, and they should be performing at their best, even though they are not good enough. We know that we are not good enough to beat Liverpool at this point in time, but that should not stop us from giving our best on the field, because they know that they will have Old Trafford's backing during the game and there will be an atmosphere for them to perform. So I don't see any point as to why we should be feeling defeated per se, given that Solskjaer is not doing particularly well at this moment. But yeah, for sure, I think we should be able to get a result at best, but anything can happen in football.
I definitely feel that United would show some fight and bite in this game. The reason being that all of their crowd, when it's a derby game, form and general team chemistry goes out of the window, and your whole 85,000 side Old Trafford gets behind your team, which hardly happens these days. So I think that's going to be a lot of that's going to be an extra advantage for you, and I definitely feel that will play into how they turn up a little higher than they usually are. So that's going to make a big difference. And having the crowd back, they don't care what Ole is doing, they don't care what the team's doing. When it's a derby game, they'll just get right behind the team.
I do hope the Stratford end, makes it feel as if United's on the rise and Liverpool's here to get a result against us, and not the other way around. And while we talk about that, the United team has been beset with a lot of injuries. David De Gea got injured in one of the friendlies in this week, and reports are saying that Pogba will be missing this game, Martial will be missing this game, and we're without healthy fullbacks.
Yeah.
So Ashley Young would be starting again, and who do you think would be the other fullback? Marcus Rojo. What do you think about how United, will line up for this must-win game against Liverpool?
I think for me, it would be Romero in goal for sure. We know our centre backs. It's Harry Maguire and Lindelof. It will be Ashley Young, unfortunately, on the left hand side maybe. And Axel Tuanzebe, I would prefer him to be played rather than playing Marcus Rojo for this game. And in the midfield, which is kind of non-existent for us at this moment, for me personally, I would like to see Fred, McTominay, and Pereira playing in the midfield. But I think Solskjaer will definitely play Matic for this game because we are definitely going to park the bus against them, because there's no way we can match Liverpool in terms of the attacking flair they have at this moment. So for sure we'll be parking the bus. And up top, I would see maybe Daniel James, Rashford, and we don't have a right winger.
Jesse Lingard?
Jesse Lingard.
He's the only fit player available.
The English youngster.
Yeah, the evergreen youngsters. Like, he's never getting old.
Yeah.
What do you think, Varun? Like, do you guys have a full squad available against United, or are there some injuries that are a cause for concern?
I haven't looked too much into it, but my day and my week was made when I knew Alisson Becker's coming back for this game. He's my favorite player on the team, and I think that's going to make a lot of difference. Coming back to this point, definitely Matic is going to feature. If you've watched the previous games at Old Trafford, it's always been a low block. They'll continue doing that. That has been effective. And the way to stop Liverpool, I feel, is like just block them in the first 20 minutes. They start getting desperate, and then obviously they won't find those spaces. And then that's where you just like close the game out for a 0-0, and then probably hit on the counter and try to win. So I think that should be a strategy that's worked, and that will continue to work. Oli must be really out of his mind if he tries to go and attack. That's going to be a short loss for him.
Like, I wouldn't mind going out for an all-out attack against Liverpool. So for us, it's a game where we need to show that we're progressing, where we can get a result, and we're not afraid of any of these teams. For Liverpool, it's the other way around. It's one of the games that they look to get a result from, or just a point, so that their season stays on track. And Manchester City will be looking at us to do them some favors. And this is where Liverpool's pressing style of play comes into play, where they either go for a fast aggressive press in the first 10 minutes, and then they fall into a positional pressing system. Yeah, do you think that United can actually counter that out with their 4-2-3-1 formation that Solskjaer has been employing throughout the season so far?
I think if you try and attack Liverpool, they'll love it, and that would be the game for them that they want. Like you said, this is what United wants in terms of this is what the fans want. They want to attack, but Ole wants to keep his job.
Right.
That is more important.
Yeah.
And he knows if he goes and attacks, that could be the end of his. If he gets he notches one more loss, and if it's a huge one, and that's the end of the road for him. So for him, it'll be more about securing his job, and I think that's how we should see it rather than the fans' angle. Fans will always want the team to go out and play an attacking game, but he'll be looking for damage control, considering the last loss. And this one cannot be a big one. That will be fatal for him.
Yeah.
But even with this formation, like, we still haven't been able to stop teams. We know teams do not score a lot of goals against us, but we do not go out and score goals either. Do you think this might be an opportunity to do that? Because Liverpool had a scare against RB Leipzig in the Champions League, where it was supposed to be a 3-3 draw, where Leipzig pulled back goals, and then Liverpool just got the winner in the dying moments of the game. Something that they've specialized in this season, where they've eked out results in the 85th, 87th minute.
Last time around when Liverpool actually came to Old Trafford, they didn't really go on the attack because United were there on the taking, because we had like 3 injuries in the first half. They could have definitely gone ahead and attacked a little bit more and actually gotten a result out of it, which eventually might have helped them to clinch the title maybe, but they didn't do that. I'm pretty sure that Jurgen Klopp has learned this lesson, and he'll be making sure that he gets all available points, as take as many points as possible at his disposal, and not leave anything to Manchester City, because we know he already knows that they go, like if they go on a winning run, they take it till 20 or 25. So that's not going to happen this time around, and they'll not be taking any chances. So for sure Liverpool will be on the attack this time. And yeah, as he, like he said, Solskjaer will be parking the bus and making sure that he does not lose his job this game, because that's what happened with Mourinho as well.
Klopp has managed to give a sack to United managers in his games, and the trend, I hope, does not continue for my personal reasons. But Saga makes a good point about how Liverpool lined up last year at Old Trafford. But if my memory serves right, I remember that was a very difficult start for Liverpool to the season, and because of that, there was a need for Klopp to manage and not fall too behind to City before even October. So I think that was the reason that they went on the defensive and get a point, so that they still keep the pace with City and not fall back, because they had a very tough run of fixtures. But at this point, I think with the start they've got, there's nothing to lose, so they will come out attacking. I would be surprised if Klopp settles for a low block. That will be really disappointing.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is where some midfield battles and defensive battles can come into the picture. And last time, Fabinho just ran Matic to the ground. I mean, Matic could not stop him, and Fabinho was controlling, the midfield, and he was just getting passes out of thin air. Do you think this time, we can learn from the mistakes there and actually stop Liverpool from creating those chances in the middle, and stopping Firmino from doing what he does, as in gluing the two pacey wingers, Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, together? Do you think we can take Roberto Firmino out of the picture and stop Liverpool from getting points out of this fixture?
I think the key to this game is going to be putting McTominay man marking on Firmino when he drops deep. And McTominay is going to be a key midfield player. He's about all engine, all legs. And if you put him on Firmino, Firmino is usually the one that drops in and then creates spaces for the wider players to get in. So if McTominay does a job on Firmino, I think it's a draw, or you might get a win on the counter. So that's going to be a good strategy. The rest of your midfield is just bad. Like, I don't think Matic is just there to double up when Firmino gets, man marked. And who's the other third midfielder that you start with?
Pereira or Fred.
Yeah, I think it'll be Fred. Pereira is more attack minded. They might want to soak in all the pressure in the first half and blunt the attack before then they introducing the attack players in the second half to take advantage of a situation that they had created a deadlock for.
I think that's a good point, because if Solskjaer is planning to park the bus, he will definitely go on the field with two central defensive midfielders, that is Matic and Fred, both. And like you said, Liverpool's midfield is much better than what we have at this moment. And what actually, like you said earlier as well, like what Salzburg actually did in the Champions League game was that they created an overload in the midfield and tried making sure that they are putting constant pressure in the second half on the midfield players, not giving them time on the ball, because Fabinho likes to put the ball over the top and find players in space, and that's what Salzburg was efficient in doing.
No, it was Leipzig.
Was it?
Yeah.
RB Leipzig.
No, it was Salzburg.
Salzburg.
Was it Salzburg?
Yeah.
Leipzig is a better team.
Yeah.
It wasn't the German team.
It was, but it was Salzburg that we played.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, fine.
So yeah. So what Salzburg did is basically they were able to do that because they had more mobile midfielders, and what we don't have at this moment is exactly that. And we will not be able to counter Liverpool's midfield in that way. And also the three forwards they have at this moment and the current form they are in, it's really difficult to say that we will be able to keep a clean sheet in this game. I don't see it happening at this moment.
But an interesting fun fact, Sergio Romero has always kept a clean sheet whenever he's played at Old Trafford. So signs are there that we might get a clean sheet against Liverpool. If it's a draw, well, it's 1 point for us.
Right.
If it's a win, that's 3 points for us. which we haven't seen in a long, long time. Like it was the last international break where we actually saw a win, and from that break until this international break, it's just been a series of bad performances all over the pitch by United. And what do you think about Harry Maguire? How pivotal would he be in this game as a defender in stopping some of those attacks and starting some of those attacks from the United side? Because he's a good ball playing centre back, and that is something that works against Liverpool.
Right.
You know what is more interesting? What do you think about Harry Maguire and Virgil van Dijk? What do you think about that comparison as a Liverpool fan?
Like 80 versus 75, Harry Maguire is definitely better.
I'm taking all bias out. There's no need to compare. Virgil van Dijk is the better athlete.
Right.
He is the better reader of the game, and that kind of wins me the debate. So if he's agile for his stature, he is really good with his leap. He controls the box, and also he's able to know when to go for the ball and when to just hold back and know the other centre back's going to take it. So he's got all of the facets in the game. Maguire is getting there. He's going to take a season or two of development to get there, but right now Van Dijk is clearly ahead. But speaking of Maguire, the one thing I wanted to add was I remember Maguire going up against Salah in the Leicester game.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest mistakes he did was stay very tight to Salah,
Right,
and
yeah.
Salah just really moved off and he cost them the game. Actually, that game Leicester played well. Salah scored both the goals and we won 2-1
Yeah.
because Maguire was very tight on Salah. So he's already going to learn from that and he's not going to do that mistake again. So that will be important for him to learn. But then I also think he has plugged a big gap in your defense.
Yeah.
But there is still chinks that can be found. And a lot of it is going to be how you handle Firmino, because Firmino is going to drop deep and Salah plays center,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
how Maguire gets to Salah. Usually Salah doesn't have to come to Maguire because he's on the wing, but then because Firmino dropping deep, if you cut the passing lines, then Salah gets frustrated and he won't get those central positions to break it.
I think what needs to be done to actually take care of not having a one-on-one between Salah and Maguire and keeping tabs on Firmino is that the midfield has to cut off the passing lanes, like you said, because Liverpool like to play give and go passes a lot, and they play those subtle passes where they don't, because they are so well coordinated as a team, they know where the other player is going to be without even looking. So they make those passes really well, and for that, to tackle that, we need to have a midfield which is non-existent in our team. So I definitely see that as one of the greatest threats to our goal during that game, for sure.
Definitely feel a midfield should be all of crafters.
Right.
That's the best way you have an advantage in this game. Playing an attacking midfielder might just be your Achilles heel.
Right.
And what we've seen in a lot of games, like Jordan Henderson is usually the free man roaming around the pitch. Like if you're able to just stop him from roaming around the pitch on a free rein, that also stops Liverpool's play in the middle. And that way we can bypass the midfield and reach our attackers and then start the play.
You know, that is what actually Klopp likes to happen. Like you focus on a particular player and that lets Fabinho or Wijnaldum free, and they are more they are capable enough to make those passes and make those runs happen as well. So it's going to be really difficult to win that midfield battle, but if we are somehow able to keep a compact shape somehow, we might be able to defend against Liverpool, but it looks really unlikely at this moment.
I also heard news that Naby Keita might play this game. He's back from injury. So an important point to make about Jordan Henderson's free role was that initially Jordan Henderson was playing Fabinho's role before we bought Fabinho. So he was kind of locked
Right.
because he was the best player in that role. So once Klopp got his target, who he wanted to play in that role, he released Henderson into his more natural position, and that's how you start seeing more of Henderson's attacking play this season, and it's just because we bought the right player for Henderson's old position. But it might all change tomorrow. I've heard news that the midfield might look like Wijnaldum, Keita and Henderson. So that's something that we might have to look for. That'll be a interesting midfield full of legs, a lot of running. So if you don't have grafters on the other side, you might just get over.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult.
Well, that brings us to the end of this discussion. And before we wrap this up, what do you think would the score be? It's like 1-0 to United, 2-0 to United, 3-0 to United.
1-0 to United looks possible, but not very probable.
Right.
I would go for going by all the low block games that's had. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw. But I think on current form, if Liverpool don't eke out a win,
Right.
it's a bad, away game for them. I think anything less than 3 points they should be disappointed with.
Right.
With a United team that's on the taking, hasn't sacked the manager, so there's no bounce factor either. So they should be there for the taking, 3 points. But for me, it's a 1-0 to Liverpool. That's what I think.
Yeah, I completely agree because given United's current form, they are definitely for the taking for Liverpool, and they can definitely take 3 points from this game. But like I said, there's no point in having that defeatist attitude as a United fan and not expecting a win, at least a win from this team, because we all know that this game means something and players tend to turn up for this game. So I definitely would love to have maybe a 1-0 win, but realistically it's not possible. That's my expectation, but realistically it might be a 0-0 because some of the past games have been drab draws as well. So maybe that might be a possible result, but you never know. It's football.
Well, my fellow United and Liverpool fans don't have a good opinion about this game. Me neither. I feel it'll either be a draw or a 1-0 to United because Rashford scored in the international break. I hope that gives him some confidence to come out and score in this game against one of our biggest opponents. And before we end this discussion, please subscribe to our channel. Shower us with love, likes and comments. Let us know what do you think about United versus Liverpool. It's one of the biggest games. And if we do not turn up for this game, then there is practically no other game in the league, where our players might turn up and show up for the manager, for the badge, and for the history of this club.
What about Manchester City? That's
I
where
don't
you should
care
turn
about
up.
City.
That's where you should turn up
The
and
blue
give us
up-
the title.
This guy, he's a shadow City supporter. Whenever Liverpool's not doing good, where's your City jacket?
It's like that.
But yeah. Anyways, we look forward to an interesting game on Sunday, and once the game is done, we'll be back with our review of the game. So stay tuned for more.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also press the bell icon to stay updated on all the latest happenings regarding Manchester United.